We can bring it back.
Bring Her Back caught my attention right away, not just because it's a horror film, but because it comes from Danny and Michael Philippou, the twin brothers behind Talk to Me, one of my favorite recent genre entries. The film had so much raw emotion and originality, it stayed with me. And naturally, I was curious about what they would do next. And with Bring Her Back, they clearly decided to lean into a kind of horror that doesn't just scare you, it sits with you. Now, if you're someone who gravitates towards horror that explores emotional trauma, especially grief, guilt, and dread, this one might speak to you. It doesn't offer much in the way of jump scares or fast-paced thrills. It is slower, it's heavier, and it's not afraid to get uncomfortable. The story centers around a teenage boy, Andy, about to age out of foster care system, who's trying to protect his younger stepsister, Piper. She's visually impaired, only able to see shapes, and their bond is complicated, layered with past trauma. There's grief tied into a recent death of their father, abuse that never quite left the room, and Andy's lingering need to protect Piper. Sally Hawkins plays the foster mother, and she brings this unnerving weirdness that quietly unravels into something more sinister. There's grief there too, a mother's grief, and you'll feel it in every scene she's in. She doesn't overplay it, she just exists in it. This is very unsettling, fragile space. I mean, the film introduces its darker elements slowly, almost like it's daring you to stick with it. It toys with your empathy. You get to know these characters, especially the brother, before the real horror kicks in. And that horror, it hits differently. The older brother carries a heavy emotional weight. Years earlier, he hit his stepsister out of jealousy when she was receiving more attention. And that moment of violence has haunted him ever since. He was also abused by their father, which adds another layer of pain. Now facing the possibility of being separated with his sister, he's driven by guilt and loyalty. That bond, that desire to protect her from any more harm is what grounds the film in something very real. Even if, as it inches towards the unsettling. There's this moment early on when you realize just how much he sacrificed to stay with his sister. He's a few months away from turning 18, he wants guardianship, and he refuses to let the system separate them. That desperation is not played up for drama, it's just there, quiet, steady, and heavy. Now, I'll admit that this movie does fall into a few horror tropes. There are moments when you can see the beats coming before they land, but the emotional foundation is so strong, it doesn't really matter. The tropes serve the story instead of cheapening it. That said, this movie will test your limits, especially if you're sensitive to depictions of children in danger. I mean, I talked to someone after the screening who thought it went too far, and I can understand that. There are sequences that are deeply unsettling, morally, emotionally, and viscerally, but for me, they work within the film's context. I won't lie, this isn't an easy watch. It presses hard on those emotional bruises we all try to ignore, and that's what makes it so effective. And that's why I think Bring Her Back might end up being pretty polarizing. People will either really connect with it or feel pushed away by it. And as for me, I'm caught in the middle. I admire what the Philippou brothers are doing. Their sophomore effort doesn't fall flat, which is rare. Sophomore films often stumble, especially after a hit debut, but this one keeps its signature approach intact. Grounded horror anchored by genuine characters. Everything here, from the cinematography to the pacing, feels intentional. Frustrating even. And that's the point. It's not just about what's happening on screen, it's about what it feels like to watch it. I squirmed in my seat, not because of gore or shock, but because I believed in the characters. And when horror feels real, it becomes something else. It starts to resemble life, and that's the scariest thing of all. In fact, that's what reminds me about The Exorcist, not because it mimics stylistically, but because of that emotional grounding. In The Exorcist, the mother takes her daughter to doctors. She follows every logical path before anything supernatural even is considered. It's that realism, those genuine reactions that make the eventual horror believable. And that's what Bring Her Back gets right. If you believe these characters, you understand why they make the choices they do, even when those choices turn dark. And if you're going into this expecting a traditional horror flick with clean-cut scares and a satisfying resolution, you might walk away disappointed. But if you're ready to feel something, if you're open to sitting in discomfort and letting a story take its time, then this might stay with you for a while. It's raw, it's painful, it's genuine, but, and this is a big but, it's not for everyone. The themes are intense, the emotional weight is heavy, the treatment of children in peril will absolutely be a deal breaker for some. This film doesn't pull any punches, it pushes boundaries. And the Aussie twin brothers who directed this movie know exactly what they're doing, and I cannot wait till their next entry. If you've seen the movie, let me know how you felt. Was it too much? Did it resonate? Or did it miss the mark? I appreciate you going on this film journey with me, and as always, be real.
I'm supposed to report how safe and reliable you are. So stay safe, stay reliable.